everyone, my name is Mary Dudevore. If you don't know me already, I'm one of the assistant athletic trainers here at DU. We're gonna go over some drug and alcohol stuff today. Okay, let's go over some basics. I'd keep your quiz open and go ahead and complete it as you go along, and it should be a lot easier that way. So, our main goal with drug testing is to protect the health and safety of our student athletes and our entire community, all while promoting fair competition. This presentation's goal is to educate you on how you and your athletic performance can be affected by any substance you're using. And let's go over a couple myths specifically. Our testing is random and year-round. There could be any moment when you're a student athlete that you could just get pulled to test. If it is a DU test, the differences are usually related to where we are. So a DU test will be at home, NCAA or national governing body test will usually be at a competition. And the repercussions of having a national governing body positive are much worse typically. So a typical institutional drug test you'll get notified by your athletic trainer, you'll come into the training room, fill out some paperwork. Usually it's the next day. You're going to give a urine sample with somebody from Drug Free Sport, which is the company we work with who does our testing, and it must meet the standards for analysis. So if you chug a bunch of water in an attempt to beat a drug test, you're not going to beat it. You're going to have to just keep retaking it, and at a certain point it'll count as a positive if you're trying to beat the test, and we are going to realize. So if you have a positive test, your first positive will result in the following: an immediate suspension from all team-related activities pending a meeting with your head coach, the head athletic trainer, and like 3 to 4 different athletic administrators who are related to your sport and athlete wellness. You will be put on a behavior contract, and it'll be outlining all of your expectations, and keep in mind that your guardians can be informed by this or about your positive test. You'll need to do 20 hours of community service, 2 counseling sessions at least. You have to retest 8 weeks after the positive, and once you've tested negative, you'll test monthly for the next calendar year and at your own expense. These tests aren't cheap. It will be a burden. And then you do have to get medically cleared to return back to activity at some point, so you'll have to see our doctors, and they'll have to decide that you are healthy enough to compete in your sport. If you have a second positive after that, it's all of the same restrictions or repercussions as the first test, and your scholarship will likely be reviewed. You'll be suspended for 8 weeks. Your competitions will be limited. You won't be able to compete in 50% of athletic contests for a calendar year, and it's likely that academics and the honor code are going to be notified at this point. If at any time law enforcement is involved, that is above us. So we can't negate anything they're saying. If you're participating in illegal activities, keep in mind you can get arrested for that. Just basics. Okay, we'll get some easy stuff out of the way first. Regarding supplementation, we obviously talk about this a fair amount in your beginning of the year meeting. We just want to make sure that everybody knows that there's little to no regulation of supplements. So there's cross-contamination, just a bunch of different stuff happening that they don't have to really tell anybody about because nobody's checking. So a lot of data that companies use to substantiate claims of their supplements. So like if it seems too good to be true, it's probably paid for by that company having a study done to prove their own points. Keep that in mind. Most of the nutrients that you are taking in should be from your food. So we want to make sure that you're getting whole foods to get the nutrients that you need. And then if we can't accomplish that with your diet, then maybe we should analyze a little bit further. So talk to your athletic trainer directly if you feel like if you feel like you're lacking in something and want to change how your diet looks, or if you feel like you need a supplement, check with your athletic trainer and make sure that it's a low risk level and that it's not going to cause a positive just unintentionally down the road. Okay, what substances are banned? So substances are categorized into schedules 1 through 5, and they're divided up based on whether they have currently accepted medical uses, and then based on their relative abuse potential and the likelihood of causing dependence when abused. So Schedule 1 includes heroin, LSD, ecstasy, and cannabis. They all have high potential for abuse and no currently accepted medical uses. Those are the keynotes of Schedule 1. Schedule 2 drugs can lead to severe psychological and or physical dependence and have a high potential for abuse. This category would include opiate pain medications like oxycodone and Oxycontin, Ritalin, Adderall, cocaine, and methamphetamine. Anabolic steroids, ketamine, Tylenol 3, and testosterone are all in Schedule 3. They have a moderate to low potential for dependence. And then Schedule 4 is defined by a low abusive potential, and that would include like Xanax and Valium, things like that. And Schedule 5 substances are pretty readily available to most people. So that would include cough syrup with codeine, cough suppressants, and analgesics like ibuprofen, acetaminophen, etc. Okay, first we're going to talk about anabolic steroids today. So anabolic steroids are synthetic testosterone used to increase lean mass and decrease fat mass, but they have a variety of negative side effects on the human body. As you can see from this slide, it affects most of your systems. Primarily, it'll exaggerate male sex characteristics. It can cause increased acne on the face and body, huge mood swings, violent behavior. Roid rage is very real, and long-term steroid abuse has been implicated in things like organ damage, and short-term abuse even can still cause heart attack, stroke, blood clots, high cholesterol, a variety of different things. Okay, our next banned substance is stimulants. The category of stimulants is one of the most abused substances on college campuses. A lot of student athletes and students in general have access to Adderall and Ritalin, which are among the most abused. Stimulants, the side effects involved in taking stimulants include anxiety, panic, paranoia, hallucinations, and delusions. They cause an increased body temperature, and they'll make you dehydrate more quickly while competing because of that increased body temperature and increased heart rate. And your sleep and eating patterns can also be affected. While there are medical exceptions for stimulant use, you have to have all of the documentation showing that you did all the appropriate testing, and then we need to take all of your notes, get them approved, and have them in your file prior to any drug test. So it's not a situation where if you test positive for a stimulant, you can just say, oh, I have ADHD. You have to prove that you have it, you have had it, you got tested for it, and just that all of the things are in order before. We don't want you to have a positive on your record just because you didn't jump through the right hoops, right? So that's why we're adamant about getting all of that stuff in early. It is your responsibility to get us that information, so make sure that if you have ADHD, just confirm with your athletic trainer that all of your paperwork's in order and that everything is done. Another thing you want to be careful with is pre-workout, and you should be avoiding energy drinks. Caffeine is a stimulant and it is a banned substance, so if you chug an energy drink before your test, it's not going to go so well for you. So you're going to want to avoid those things on competition days, and then especially if you're selected randomly for a drug test. Next up in our banned substances, we have marijuana and cannabinoid products. These are all banned substances. There are no medical exceptions. Even though it's legal in Colorado, it is not legal for you or at a federal level. Just keep all of those things in mind. Obviously, you can see how positive tests will impact your eligibility up on the screen. And then let's talk a little bit about CBD. Even though CBD may seem like a safe option to use, there's no way to guarantee that your CBD product doesn't have any THC in it. So if you utilize THC, test positive because there was THC in it, which is the active ingredient in marijuana, there won't be a way to prove that you didn't utilize just marijuana. So you avoid all cannabinoid products. The consequences are going to be the same for you regardless of your reasoning. So it's best to just avoid it altogether. Marijuana and cannabinoids have no performance enhancement effects. They decreased reaction time and hand-eye coordination, and that skill impairment can last 24 to 36 hours after use even. And then just as a note, the rules surrounding a positive for marijuana and cannabinoids are slightly different, so just for your information. Okay. Among D1 student athletes, 40 to 50% consume alcohol. This is super important information. There's likely people around you at least who are using alcohol, so it's always good to just have information on hand. First, let's kind of go over what one drink looks like. So a beer is 12 ounces. Obviously, you can see kind of just all the different sizes here. So a beer is 12 ounces, a seltzer should be 8 to 10 ounces, a glass of wine is 5, and a serving of liquor is 1.5 ounces. So it's a good idea to keep track of the number of actual drinks instead of the number of like cups being consumed. So make sure you're kind of paying attention to that. And then keep in mind that alcohol decreases several processes in the body that are key to high-level athletic performance. It experiences a significant decrease in aerobic ability during the 24 hours following alcohol consumption. And in addition to that decreased endurance, you're going to have decreased muscle repair, decreased immune response. So you're going to get sick, you're going to get hurt, not ideal. And your blood pressure and heart rate will increase, and those can cause headache, chest pain, lightheadedness. You can also experience body aches, bloating, fatigue, GI upset, all things you probably don't want to play through. And another note is that there are a lot of long-term effects of alcohol abuse, and you feel them throughout the body. Keep in mind that a DUI will run you about $13,000, $13,000. So always better to be safe and responsible. Please don't drink and drive. And be responsible for everything you're putting in your body. So pay attention all the time. Next substance we'll go over are narcotics. So narcotics have a very high risk of dependency and addiction. They're closely monitored because of that. So typically you would become familiar with opiates when you've had a sports-related injury that needed surgery. So we don't usually prescribe people, or our physicians, don't usually prescribe people medications for more than a few days of opiate use. And it's for this reason that they are very addictive. With long-term use, you not only are physically dependent on these medications, but psychologically. So it can cause a lot of mental health issues when you're trying to get back off of these things. You also lose a lot of important pain signals. So if you're abusing opiate medications, you're not feeling pain that would normally inhibit you from continuing to compete, and therefore your injury is just going to keep getting worse and worse. And that's part of the danger of using opiate pain medications. Your heart rate, blood pressure, and breathing can all be impacted by narcotic use, and it's projected that around 100 people die in the US daily from narcotic overdose. It's obviously you have heard these things before. So if you find yourself in a situation where you're concerned about yourself or somebody around you, always reach out for help. There's overdose kits all over campus as well. You can find them in the wall AED boxes in high traffic areas throughout campus. They contain some personal protective equipment and then a nasal spray called Narcan. Narcan is super easy to use. It's a single dose, and you use it when you suspect an opiate overdose in somebody. And some things that you would want to look for are unusual sleepiness or unresponsiveness, slowed or absent breathing, cold, clammy skin, super restricted, tiny pupils. Their heart rate will be really slow, and then looking for like that, if they have a bluish tint to their lips or nails, those are things to look for as well. And if you come up on this situation, you're going to want to call 911 right away. Call campus safety if that's quicker for you. Either way, 911 is going to get there. And then if you have access to one of these kits, I put all the instructions on here for you. It's just a really simple spray. You spray it one time up somebody's nose, and if they aren't overdosing, they will not have a reaction to it. It's not going to cause any additional harm. But if they are, you could definitely save somebody's life with this. So it is a great thing to have on hand, have in mind, and always feel free to ask about things like that if you are concerned about yourself or somebody else. Please talk to your athletic trainer. Okay, last slide. Above all else, we are here to keep you safe and healthy. Your wellness, your complete wellness, is our first priority always. Please keep that in mind. When our health and counseling center has a ton of resources on to help you get sober, stay sober. They host a bunch of sober events. There are just a lot of ways to maintain your social life and also be sober. So if that's something you or anyone needs help with, please get in touch with anyone in athletics as soon as you can, and we'll take the right steps with you. When compared on a national level, DU students have a higher rates of prescription drug, cannabis, and alcohol use. And keep in mind how the actions of people around you could impact your athletic career and you. So make good choices. Everything that you put in your body is your responsibility. In regard to if you feel like you have a problem or somebody else does, self-referral is highly encouraged, and you should feel comfortable approaching any athletic staff when exploring avenues for assistance. So you must initiate your self-report prior to having a positive result on a random drug test, and then there's some specific protocol that goes with that, and you can find that in your student athlete handbook. The handbook also has our full policy, so if you have any questions, go ahead and reference that or reach out to me directly with any questions or concerns. Okay, thank you for your attention and time, and I'm sure I'll see you soon. Thanks, bye.